Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I am Jarrett Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and welcome to another GeneaVlogger live stream. I just realized my green screen's not fully pulled up. Let's correct that. There we go. Hope everyone's doing well. As the title says, we're going to be talking about the IAJGS International Genealogy Conference, or International Conference on Jewish Genealogy. I just got back from that yesterday, drove 10 and a half hours down from Fort Wayne, Indiana. It actually wasn't too bad of a drive, but had quite a fun week. So I already see a lot of familiar names, and then everybody coming on in. So have a poll going. If you've ever been to a genealogy conference, let me know, and we'll stop that at some point. But I guess I'll be talking about genealogy conferences in general as well. I know today's not my usual streaming day, but I couldn't do it yesterday. Was driving, and then last week I was driving last Friday too, up and down. So do some quick hellos. We got Blackberry Rose, one of our wonderful admins. We've got Stig, our Scandinavian contingency. Wow, I'm still a little slow from being tired and driving so much yesterday. Definitely wasn't too bad of a drive, but by the time I got back, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm beat. Julia Joyce, hello, coming in from England, and Marcy Trust, who I got to meet at the conference. She came up and we were chatting, and I recognized her name and was like, wait a second, I know that name. So awesome to see you here. Hope you had a safe trip back home. John Tyner, good evening from Eve, from Ireland. Good evening, John. As you can see, like I said. Patrick Jones, greetings this weekend from Ithaca, New York. Hello, Patrick. Good to see you. And Eve, hi from hot, humid Ontario, Canada. Hello, Eve, one of my wonderful YouTube members who help support the channel with a donation every month. And that's why you see that fun little symbol next to her name. So thank you for that. Gail, hello from North Carolina, USA. Hello, Gail. Good to see you. And Bones Genealogy, hello from Alabama. Hello, Bones. John, I've been to I can't talk. I've been to Back to Our Past conference in Dublin. Yeah, the Back to Our Past conference. I know I've heard of that. Also was on Genealogy Roadshow Ireland edition, just in the crowds. Okay, I was about to say, I didn't realize you were on the show, but I guess in the crowds, yeah. But that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I went to the IAJGS conference in London a few years ago. That's been my only experience with a European-based conference. Granted, it was IAJGS, which is a conference I've been to many times, and that's the one that I just came from. Eve was delighted you waited till today, as I had to work yesterday. Yeah. Actually, one of the things I was thinking about this was that being on a Saturday, I wonder if I'll get a lot of people that can't make it on Fridays because they're working. Rob Goedenavond just bought another book by Russell Shorto about the beginnings of New Amsterdam long ago. Oh, very cool, very cool. Well, Goedenavond. I hope that all is goed met jou. Always good to see you. I'll have to look into that book. I think I saw another book that was released in relation to research from the Amsterdam archives. That marked upon one of the main archivists there, I think, or one of the big ones there, he posted about. But anyway, yeah, good to see you. Sandy, Mom, hi. Vicky, evening from the UK. Hello, Vicky. Good to see you. Peddler 32, long time no see, in Columbus, Ohio. And that's where I stopped on the way up to the conference last week, actually. I stayed right by the Polaris Mall. So that was pretty cool. Heidi Moraine, hello. I was at last year's in Philly. So you weren't able to make it this year, but very good to see you here in the chat. Just spoke with my cousins in London. Yes, well, I just got to hang out with some of my cousins, one of my cousins who just came from London at the IAJGS conference, which I'll talk a bit about because I'll be making a video out of about that. Oh, it's Gil from Columbus. Oh, hey, Gil, good to see you. Yeah, Gil was also at the conference. For those who don't know, the IAJGS 45th International Conference on Jewish Genealogy was held in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which I guess let's pull up a map for everybody to see. But Fort Wayne, Indiana is like right on the border of Ohio and Indiana, right in the northeastern corner of Indiana. And I've never been to that area of the country, or I guess I shouldn't say it like that. I've never been to like that part of Indiana. I've been to the Midwest. I used to live in Chicago, or not really Chicago, outside of Chicago. But it was really cool driving up there. It reminded me actually a lot of Alliance. Let's see, go back there. Yeah. It reminded me a lot of Alliance, the Jewish farming communities. And the big difference was that it was a bit greener out there in Ohio and Indiana than it was in Alliance. Because Alliance, is that sandy, loamy soil. So that's why the town near Alliance is called Vineland. It's, a lot of vine fruits and things that grow really well there. So Welch's grape is from there. But driving in Indiana was pretty cool. So here's Fort Wayne. So it's up here. Closest I've ever been is when my family moved from Chicago to North Carolina. We drove down this way through Indianapolis, but very different. So it was a pretty cool conference. It was at the Grand Wayne Conference Center. I'm actually going to pull up the IAJGS's channel, have that video kind of playing in the background. But if you guys want to see more about some of the stuff with the conference, we actually have it on the IAJGS website, or YouTube channel, excuse me. So some pretty cool stuff too, actually. Turn that volume off, even though you can't hear it. Good to see. All right. Yes, he researches Black history mostly in Amsterdam, probably a lot more. Herman Snell. Okay, that's the head archivist. Yeah. I know Mark Tapon does. He's done a lot of stuff with the Surinamese. I'm just going to say the Suriname community, but a lot of the slaves that came back, the people that were enslaved that were taken from Suriname back to Amsterdam and the Netherlands, and the free what is it? Vartamana. I don't know if that was the proper term, but I think it's something like that. But yeah. Okay. Sorry, like I said, I'm still not fully here. But yeah, so here's a bunch of images of the Grand Wayne. It's a pretty nice place for a conference. Yeah, this was kind of the main area. Although funny enough, there were like 7 or 8 different falling events, I think, that happened while we were there. So that was a little interesting. Yeah, there we go. That's the shot I was looking for. So at the conference, thought I was taking that off. So at the conference, there was a lot of really interesting talks. And I think one of the ones that I was really sad to miss, but I kind of actually got my own version of it, was Leo Cooper, who was one of the researchers on the study into the Erfurt Jews. Specifically, there were like, I think it's 14 bodies that were found that were Jews from the 14th century. Maybe that's why I'm thinking 14. I'm going to pull up the article. But he came and spoke in depth about a lot of this stuff. And even though I missed his talk, I ran into him. He actually recognized me. He's seen the channel, which was, it's always cool to see people that, really respect the work they're doing. And then you get to, find out that they like what you do. But Leo Cooper right here, pretty young guy too. And okay, he's 33. And basically he had a really interesting presentation all about the study, as well as kind of just the general study of a lot of other Jewish communities and what they can infer from that information. And it was really, really interesting what they're finding. And one of the things that he talked about that I really latched onto more than anything had to do with the whole view of endogamy in the Jewish community. And this is something I obviously talk a lot about on the channel. For those who are unfamiliar with endogamy, it is it's when a population largely has children only with other people from that same population group. So it causes everybody in that population group to have a lot of or have a lot of shared DNA. And this is common throughout a lot of different population groups, but it's comes up differently when you look at the DNA testing. So the Jewish population group is often the main group people talk to or talk about with endogamy. And there's others like the Pacific Islanders that have really high endogamy. Oh, I cannot talk today. I apologize, everybody. I'm like all over the place. But there's a lot of things that go into endogamy, including what's known as pedigree collapse, which is basically cousins marrying cousins, as well as a lot of double cousin relationship, multiple cousin relationships. And that just means that you're related to somebody in many ways. So, you could be related to them as a second cousin through your mom's side and a second cousin through your dad's side. And if that's the case, then they're going to share twice as much DNA as a typical second cousin because you're related in two ways. But it's going to be that many times over, but in more distant ways often. And so one of the things that Leo talked about is that he thinks that the way that a lot of people view the endogamy with the Jewish population is a little off. And the reason for that is that because what really happened is that I think he said it was about the 11th century, there was a lot of pedigree collapse within the Jewish community because that's the founder population. So a lot of people often hear about, Jews come from or Ashkenazi Jews come from a single population of a small amount of people. And that's where everybody comes from. And so that small founder population had children with, each other, and then their children had children with each other, and so on and so forth. And so with that pedigree collapse, endogamy, the consistent marrying and only having children of other or with others within the Jewish faith, is what continued that. And the way that he looked at it was that basically the pedigree collapse of the 11th century defines it much more than the fact that today, actually, I'm probably not even saying this right, because he explained, I only got one explanation of it, and I'm hopefully going to do more with him in the future, but it basically was looking at how that pedigree collapse was much more important than a lot of the double cousin relationships in more recent I'll need to make a video of this. I apologize, everyone, for being completely not on my game as usual. But either way, he had a lot of really interesting stuff that he showed, and I highly, highly, highly recommend looking into some of the other videos I've seen of his, which talk really in depth. So there's, really high level stuff, focusing a lot on haplogroups, but also utilizing autosomal DNA. But a lot of what he was doing really showed how it's really discovering what the true story of the Ashkenazi Jewish origin seemed to be. And as well, it's also, aiding in understanding the other communities, such as the Sephardic Jewish communities and the North African Jewish communities, and how those correlated to each other. And it's quite amazing. It's the type of thing I really like, just a once through with him really perked my ears up like crazy. But it's one of those things that's like, I need to really dive into it and study it to, get the full understanding out of it. So hello, all the other folks coming in. I see you. Yeah, alles good met my or met me. Finally able to join live again. Long time. Hello, Gina. Yeah, well, I figured Saturday we might get some more people. So yeah. And Irene almost made it on time, but still representing Carrie. Yeah. Good to see you. Good to see you. So for those who aren't familiar with this, definitely check it out. Actually, I wonder if any of these here, I'm going to put this in chat for everybody too, if you want to go check it out. So there is, let's see. And I don't know why you're like where you're coming from with this, because it does not show that at all. They're not Eastern European. It is definitely from the Levant. So, and we're looking at all of the studies that actually prove it. Actual peer-reviewed research. But I do find it funny. A lot of people point to the ban in Israel like that. That has to do with that. It has nothing. Jews have tested at great amounts all across the world. So, hey, Gazillion, good to see our Portuguese contingency coming on in. And just the tip, I've been to small genealogy conferences, but nothing large. Yeah. There's the best one. Or not the best one, I shouldn't say necessarily, but it's the one that is beyond every other conference. And that's Roots Tech. Roots Tech is by far the best. It's thousands and thousands of people, and it's thousands and thousands of people, so a lot more than what you'll find at IAJGS or NGS or anything like that. Let's see. So I've recently been to the Mormon Church in Amsterdam twice, found so many documents. Even my father's, who's born in Surabaya, Indonesia. Interesting. Yeah, my one of the cousins I got to meet in Amsterdam, he's from Indonesia, and he's got, both Dutch Jewish ancestry and Indonesian ancestry. And let me pull that back up. I was learning a bit about the Indonesian connections he has. Okay, let's see. All right, so this is one of the graphs that Leo was showing me. And so this is 11th century, or I guess it's a huge mix of Ashkenazi Jews from the Erfurt study with studies of other Jews. And so basically what they found was that there's two main populations that all Ashkenazi Jews descend from. So these green, I think, were more recent individuals. And so these red, like I forgot exactly what it was, but some of the red ones that they found here, these ones were like children of people from one person from this group, and most likely one person from this group. And then so these are PCA plots. And so this, you can see, is landing right here in the middle, where you have some leaning a bit more here towards that Mediterranean. And then you have the more Western Mediterranean. And then here you have them leaning into the Eastern Mediterranean, the Levant, and things like that. And so you kind of see how it all plots out. So this was really, really interesting. And I'm hopefully going to have him work with me on some sort of video at some point, to talk more about that stuff. So it was really, really, really interesting. And here you can see the different families, and they were able to do autosomal, mitochondrial, and Y chromosome analysis. So yeah. Let's see. And Marcy, my favorite session at the conference was Gil Bardage's "Help, I got my DNA results and I'm confused," part 1.25. Well, I don't know if Gil is still in here, but he was in here for at least a second. So very, very cool. The boy, yeah, I know they're Moroccan, right? They have the chocolate chop. Oh, so that's actually a different cousin. So that cousin that you're thinking of, that's his wife. So Ian is a cousin of mine, and he and his wife Salome own a chocolate shop in the center of Amsterdam, right by Devalen. Devalen. I don't know. I never remember when to pronounce the N at the end. So, and Gil is still here. Good to see. But yeah, so my cousins own that chocolate shop. But no, it's a different cousin who actually was able to prove his connection because he did a Y-DNA test and found that he was a Nunes-Vaz descendant because he matched the Nunes-Vaz cousins. And then after doing that Y-DNA test, the autosomal DNA test he did showed him connecting to a lot of those Sephardic Jewish relatives. And when he researched the ancestor that he was very like, okay, this is likely where it's from, he found that ancestor was living right next to the house of this one Nunes-Vaz family. So he's been able to prove fairly conclusively who his Nunes-Vaz ancestor was. So he actually, this cousin I'm talking about was in my Europe video. He was one of the ones that went to me to the Amsterdam cemetery, the Beth Chaim cemetery in Ouderkerk on the Amstel. Marcy, I learned ASCM, which is amount. I'm guessing which is the amount of shared divided by segment quantity, taking into account the longest single segment. Interesting. Okay, yeah. I hadn't heard ASCM. I'm guessing that's kind of something Gil came up with, but I definitely understand that average segment. Oh, ASCM. Average segment of centimorgan. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm like getting it as I'm reading it. So yeah, average segment of centimorgan. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff. There, one of the things with DNA testing these days is that I find that, with a lot of the people who do Jewish genetic genealogy research, they often are forced to have a higher understanding of what's going on with the DNA testing. And so with that, they often get into the nitty gritty of stuff and kind of, I don't know if I want to say necessarily have a higher understanding than other researchers, but it's just like you're thrown into the deep end. So if you get really good at it, you kind of really learn a lot. Deval in the red light district. Actually, so my cousin Ian, he owns a chocolate shop, but he also does heritage tours about the red light district and about the cannabis industry in the Netherlands, which is really cool. Both industries apparently having Jewish origins and connections. So very, very interesting. All right, so continuing on talking about the conference, I also got to see 2 events with Cece Moore. The first event was her keynote speech, which was pretty cool. It's kind of, it was a lot of stuff that I've seen and I'm familiar with, especially having worked in investigative genetic genealogy. But it was, it was very cool to see a little bit more of the nitty gritty of things, where she was kind of explaining like what matches she really had and, kind of narrowing things down. But she did play a lot of the episode from The Genetic Detective. And the case she talked about was the April Tinsley case, which was a Fort Wayne, Indiana case, which is where we were. So it was actually quite fitting. And it was really cool. Afterwards, there was there's like a dessert reception. So she came and was chatting with a bunch of people there. And then her and a few other genealogy researchers, along with myself, kind of hung out a bit afterwards, kind of late night, and just kind of chatted about stuff. And then the next day, she did an interview with Adam Brown, who runs the Avatenu Y-DNA study. Another amazing Avatenu. I always forget. But another amazing study that studies the history of the Jewish people. So here's that page, and actually, if you look here, this is an image of. Oh, I guess if you want to donate, you can. But this is an image of a bunch of people that have been part of the study and helped out in various ways. Oh, it disappeared. Where'd it go? There it is. And I'm right there. So that's myself, David Mendoza, Tone Thielen, Jacob Marache. Marache, I'm not known for pronunciation. Sorry if you're watching, Jacob. And then just a bunch of other people. And so it's a worldwide study. They've gone around and tested people from all around. And so it was a very fitting talk to have someone like Adam Brown, who's such an experienced genetic genealogist and an experienced archaeological type of researcher in a sense. I don't know if that's the proper way to put it, but he deals with a lot of information with the Avatenu study, and they're looking at every Jewish community, the Kaifeng Jews in China, the Ethiopian Jews, the Italkim, the Romanio, Sephardim, Mizrahim, Ashkenazim, all around, and what they're finding is absolutely amazing, and a true telling of the actual history of the Jews, and not just a bunch of politically swayed statements and things like that. It's very, very focused. Not to say that there might not be bias, but it's a large research team of many different viewpoints. And the focus is we're going to tell the true story. And there's a lot of participation. So some people watching this might even be eligible to participate in this study. If you tested on Family Tree DNA, you can join the study and make your DNA test available to them. But anyway, Adam Brown did an interview with CC Moore. And I don't remember exactly everything they talked about. Nothing really stood out a whole lot to me about it necessarily. But it was very fun. And then trying to think what else, what other talks were kind of stand out. I saw Drew Smith's talk about newspapers, which was really cool because I learned about a couple of new resources that need to look further into. But I've never actually gotten to see Drew speak. I've hung out with Drew a lot. One of the things that happens at these conferences is that we like to play board games. So that always happens every year at Roots Tech. And this year we did it at IAJGS. And so, I've played board games a bunch with Drew. He had me on as a guest on his podcast, but this was the first time I got to see him speak. And he was an amazing speaker. He was, very dynamic, very engaged, he wasn't kind of falling into the trap some speakers do, that's one of the downsides sometimes with just any conference is that, sometimes newer speakers, they need to, learn some of the tricks, how to speak extemporaneously, don't read everything on your slide, and Drew was like, top tier by far. So, you can tell why he has made a great name for himself speaking. Yeah, by the way, I should say, if anyone has questions about the conference or anything like that, would love to answer any questions. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now that we're at 30 minutes. But yeah, ask away. And Berke, one of your ancestors might be Karaite or Krimchak from Crimea. Her name sounds Turkic. The mother tongue of Karaites and Krimchaks is Tatar, which is Turkic. Interesting. Which ancestor are you thinking of for that? Kind of curious. So, all right, let's see. pull up the IAJGS 2025 website. See if I can get a memory of what there was. So went to a couple of birds of a feather groups. The Netherlands birds of a feather was one I went to, which is cool because that's just recently gotten off the ground. I missed, I really wanted to see the talks from Raquel Leva Toledano, who does a lot of research of Sephardic Jews. And I think she's originally from Morocco, but lives in France, but I could be wrong about that. She might just descend from France, or not France, Moroccan Jews, or Sephardi Jews as well. But very, very amazing researcher. She's actually on the board of the IAJGS with me. She and I are the only Sephardic Jews on the board. But I did get to go to, not this talk, but Yefim Kogan's Bessarabia Sig discussion, basically talking about all the new stuff that they're getting out there. I don't remember, but I think it was Rukia. Well, I think what you might be thinking, I have an ancestor whose given name is Ruklia, which when she came to America, became Rachel, and that's Ruklia Shvedsky. So I wonder if it's that, because I don't know of any other surnames in my family that'd be like Rukia. Yeah. All right. What else did I get to see? I have to go through and remind myself. So one thing I was doing too, I was spending a bit of time at the IAJGS booth in the exhibit hall. And of course, walking around the exhibit hall and talking to people, which is honestly, that's like the best thing when it comes to going to conferences, is really getting to hang out with other genealogists and chat and network and, just really kind of get to know people. It's very, very interesting. It's a lot of fun. Be around people that are kind of crazy into genealogy too. Just a tip, I have 0 Jewish DNA and I'm not Jewish, but I love learning about researching Jewish people because you never know when it might be helpful to a friend or someone I'm helping with research. Yeah. In my experience with genealogy and the way I've always come at it, even though I'm Jewish and that's, been a big part of my research is my own family tree, I've researched so many of my friends' ancestries. And of course, they, have tons of various ancestries. And of course, now I've done a lot of YouTubers and I've done, family trees for investigative genealogy, which has spanned an even wider gamut of different populations I hadn't researched. And I think it's just generally, especially as genealogists, I think there's just part of the bug is that you're always curious about something you find out new where you want to learn more about it. And genealogy just really lends itself to that. And so, yeah, for someone who might have Jewish friends and you want to help them with genealogy, you might really be able to. All right. So gonna see if I can remember. Yeah, this is what I went to, Jewish Bessarabia Research Division meeting. Yeah. All right. One thing I can talk about as well. Actually, let's not do it like that. Let's do it like this. When I went to the conference, I met up with my cousin, Catherine, who I don't think she's going to be in the chat today, but she's often in the chats. Oh, sorry, click on the wrong thing. Why is it not going to where I wanted to? She's often in the chats. Many of you might recognize the name. And she had brought me a bunch of candy from the UK because she saw my video about my trip to Europe, saw when I said I liked certain candies. So last year she brought me a bunch. This year she was like, I'm going to bring a bunch more. And a lot of you might remember that I think it was my stream maybe 3 weeks ago. If you were on there, you saw that. Well, she brought a bunch of candy. And then after she brought it, I was thinking, you know what? I should go out and get a bunch of American candy, and then we can do a video where she tries American candies, I try British candies, and we both give, our opinions. So that's exactly what we did. So this is a little bit of a pic of that. There's my cousin Catherine. There I am. And so this is what we tried from the UK candies. And I think we went crazy, a little too crazy on the American candies. After I made piles, I was like, wow, there's 20 American candies. And, there's, 9 of these candies. But, granted, when she brought these, she just wanted to bring me stuff that, she thought I would like. I'd tried some of this before, but a lot of it I hadn't tried. I hadn't tried the Freddos, the Curly Whirlies. I tried the only thing of the fruity candies that I had tried was the regular Jelly Tots. I hadn't tried the others. But there were also a lot of American stuff that basically she got, or not she got, but that we got. I'll explain how we decided on it. But a lot of stuff we got that I hadn't tried. But basically, when I explained the idea to her, she was like, I love it. But we have a lot of American candy in the UK, so let's go together and I can tell you what I haven't had. So I'm glad we did that too, because we had to also limit certain things that she couldn't have. And so we went through and I was like, okay, have you had this? This is classic, this classic, this classic. So I try to get a lot of classic stuff, classic American candies. We'll see what everyone thinks of that. How it went. Eve loved candy swap videos. I'm really hoping it brings a big crowd to the channel. And Gil, Catherine's terrific. She brought me biscuits as well. Yeah, and actually she brought me Stroop waffles for you Americans. And I have the bag actually over here. So yeah, very, very cool. Reza also. Yeah, Reza, what is it? Was it Reza Parla? I'm trying to remember. Perlia. Basically, it was Pearl. Reese's peanut butter cups are delicious and my favorite. Now, that's the thing. She's had Reese's before. So, Reese's were, that's why we did the bark, because she saw it. She was like, oh, I've never had that. And I was like, I've never had that either. So let's try it. The Freddos were great. I shouldn't give too much away. You'll need to watch the final video, which we had some hiccups during. The camera shut off twice. The lighting was started out great, and then the lighting ended up terrible. I had to switch to my phone at the end, and then the lighting on the phone is very different. It'll look better on the phone actually than the 4K camera I had with me, because it was just, I didn't bring lights with me, but I wasn't planning to make a video like this. It was literally on a whim. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I was actually watching a little bit of the footage before I did the stream, and I was thinking, I wonder if I should show some of this on stream, but just a little too much. But he's so interesting. So for the main candies, like Sweet Tarts Original, Bottle Caps, Charleston Chews, Milky Way. We have Three Musketeers. I don't know if you can see that little corner of it. Milk Duds, Mike and Ike's. We also had Mike and Ike's Sours, which, I love Mike and Ike's Sours. Lemon Heads. We got a Mr. Good bar. She's had Hershey bars and stuff like that before, but she hadn't had a Mr. Good bar. Then we got Funyuns, and then she had actually gotten pickle chips at Trader Joe's, so she wanted to include that in there. There was also the fruit Tootsie Rolls, which I honestly love. And then also some Werther's Originals, but it was like a cinnamon one and a pumpkin one. So very different. By the end of this, I was so sugared up. Because one of the things was, when the camera shut off the first time, I was really worried that I lost all the footage the way that I was trying to see the footage, and it was, I don't remember what message it was giving me, but it was giving me a weird message I hadn't seen before. So I was like, oh no, I think I might have lost it all. So we kind of redid the first part, even though we'd already done it. So it's we went and retried all the candies. And then, so it's just so sugared up. So sugared up. The last time I probably felt like that was after Halloween when I was a kid. But we ended up afterwards taking a lot of this and bringing it to a bunch of the other conference people that were hanging out. And they got to try a bunch of it too. Although some of it, I was like, yeah, no, I'm keeping this for me. And Catherine had some of it that she was like, no, I'm keeping these for me. And yeah. Oh, one of the things that we had in there was dots. We had dots in there, which is one of the candies I always liked growing up, especially like movie theater candy. So yeah. Whew. I really should have gotten myself a drink ready before. I'm definitely like I had a very very long sleep last night. I got in after 10.5 hour drive, and I was super hungry at the end of the drive, and I was debating whether or not to stop and get food, and I finally decided to stop and get food. And of course, the first place I stopped at, they were closed. Even though they were supposed to be open. Then I went to another place, and then they had like a massive line, and it was one of those drive-through lines where like as soon as you get into it, there's no way of getting out of it. So it was like stuck. So worked out. I got food, but then of course the food was not good. But yeah, stroopwafels are so good. I'm not the biggest fan of the store brand ones. Like they're good, but it's just like the real like gooey caramel, fresh ones are so good. Oh, put them in the microwave for 10 seconds. Okay, I might have to try that then. I did not realize that. Yeah, because I always, whenever I have them, store bought, it's like, meh, it's okay. But yeah, from the market, so good. That and then paferches. Oh, paferches were so good. I went to what was that area? It's like the Carousel or something like that. But yeah, I can't wait until I go back to the Netherlands. I'm so looking forward to that. Julia, my local convenience store sells American import candies. Mike and Ike Sour are very good. Yeah, I think that's the thing is it's so common for grocery stores all around the world to have international sections because we have international sections in the stores around here. But on top of that, in the US, we also have the world market stores, and those will have candy from everywhere. So granted, it's a bit more expensive and not as common, but I think that, I imagine that the UK has a lot of that. Actually, I know the UK has a lot of that because when I was there, I remember walking around and seeing all these American candy stores. I was like, okay. Stroopwafels, one good thing, the English import from the Netherlands. Yeah. Yeah, paferches. Yeah, too good. Yeah, very, very too good. Too good. Although I will say, there's a lot of traditional Dutch food I am not a fan of. Like the pickled herring. Like I don't do seafood at all, and the pickled herring. All the cousins I met up with, they're like, "Have you done it yet?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. I know I'm not gonna like it. I don't like fish. I've tried fish so many times, and raw pickled herring, like, nah, not." What is it? Niet voor mij, geen voor mij. I don't know. Nay. They say that USA candy tastes weird for us Europeans because of the ingredients or whatever. Interesting. Yeah, I know. I like the chocolate. I love is way better in Europe, and part of that just has to do with the formula that Hershey decided to go with. Has like a sour note to it, and I like Hershey's. But I could definitely eat way more Cadbury chocolate than Hershey's because like Hershey's, you have too much, and then it's like I think that sour note kind of builds up, sort of thing. But yeah, when you watch the video, you'll see how much I like the chocolate. It was good. It was very good. Yeah, there's a lot of bad food too. I'm lucky I'm mixed race Asian Indonesian. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, when I was in Amsterdam, I thought it was really interesting how my cousins were telling me that the Chinese food there all had like an Indonesian twist to it because of the the Indonesian colonies that they had, which was interesting because the Surinamese and Guyanese, or not Guyanese, Surinamese and Curacao-ian. Would that be the right way to call people from Curacao? Curaçaoians? I don't know, but basically, they don't have as much of an influence on the food culture of the Netherlands, but Indonesia apparently did. Yeah. My great grandmother's made me eat gefilte fish. Yeah, my dad likes gefilte fish. He'll get like lettuce and wrap it in lettuce and eat it. I remember one time when I was working in kitchens, my boss was like, "Oh, you should bring your dad in to teach me about Jewish food." And so my dad came in and like he disappointed the guy because he was like, "Yeah, I think Jewish food's designed to not have any taste." And he was like, "Oh," which is not the case. I think my dad was joking with him, but yeah, that's funny. Antillean people. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I love to make lemper at home. Indonesian food is my favorite. Huh. Cool. Actually, when I went to one of my cousin's places for dinner while I was there, he got Indonesian food, and it was really, really good. He'd gotten it a little earlier in the day, and then when we finally were eating, he was like, "Oh no, it's cold. Let's microwave it." So, even then, it was like still really good. So I imagine fresh, it's got to be quite amazing. The only thing was, I remember there was like this egg. It was like a whole egg, but it like had a color to it or something. And I don't like egg at all. I tried like a little bit of it, and I was like, not for me. Not for me. Yeah, I have an appointment at the archives in Jakarta on the 5th of September. I'm going there for 6 months. Well, hope you have a fun trip. All right. Well, I should say we should get. We're talking so much Amsterdam, which I obviously don't mind too much, but yeah. Does anyone have anyone has questions about just regular genealogy too? Happy to answer anything. Oh, I've been going only for 50 minutes. All right. Yeah, love the Curly Whirlies. Flake by Hershey's tastes cheap. I haven't tried Flake. Oh yeah. I guess Flake is the UK version they have. We used to have Hershey's factory in Canada, but was shut down. Love my Reese's, but feeling guilty with the boycott. I didn't actually. Reese's boycott. Okay, I hadn't heard anything about Reese's boycott. Yeah, there's not much Googling it. Interesting. Yeah, me either. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully I'll have that video out pretty quickly. Hopefully. Many Canadians are boycotting American products in protest of the tariffs and Trump's threats to annex Canada. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. I guess I didn't think about the Canadian part of it. Yeah, I was just thinking like, wait, they're going after Reese's? But yeah, okay, all American products. So yeah. Fun politics. Fun politics. Yeah, the conference that I think I had heard that there were, well, I don't think I heard. I knew that there were a lot of people that weren't able to go to the conference just because of, various things relating to the political situations. So fun. Yeah. So Bear Var, sorry joining late. Saw a lot of posts on Facebook about an Avitanian paper on why DNA discoveries for a Cohen population. I tried to read it, but didn't get what they've newly discovered. Any idea? I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I started talking about Adam Brown, and that was kind of what I was going to get to. And then I kind of got off track. But yeah, so they did a study that they just released while I was at the conference. Let's see if I can pull it up. And it has to do with them looking at looking at a Cohen branch and basically getting into the nitty-gritty, defining it. Now, I have not read this paper in depth. I didn't see the talk about. I don't know if there was. I think there was a talk about this, but I don't know if I saw it. I know I saw. Actually, I did. I saw Adam Brown talk, and I think he had talked a bit about this, but I don't remember exactly what he had said. But this is a phylogenetic tree with breakdowns of all the connections, and yeah, I need to read it myself, but I know that a big part of this has to do with the Cohen line. So, yeah. So let's see. Conclusions and observations. With over 96% of JFGC 4992 testers reporting Coanic ancestry and time to their most recent common ancestor, estimated to be around 550 BCE, 95% what is that? I can't think of the word. Basically, 95% confidence, 1000 to 150 BCE would be the range. It's reasonable to infer that the common ancestor of all testers was an Iron Age Levantine man who served as an Israelite priest. The 4% of testers who are unaware of Kohanic ancestry are well explained by historical and cultural factors and do not undermine this conclusion. Further, the genetic and genealogical evidence of testers who are FGC 4992 plus reveals extraordinary continuity in their paternal line's transmission of their priestly identity across more than 2,500 years and vast geographic distances. So basically, they all trace to some guy who lived somewhere between the year 1000 to 150 BCE, which would be the equivalent of about 3,000 to 2,100 years ago. So the average 2,500 years, basically. And not only do they all connect, but that 95 or 96% of them report as being of Kohanic ancestry, which for those who are unfamiliar with the Jewish faith, being of the Kohanic ancestry is very important. There's special sections of cemeteries for them. There's specific rules about funeral services and things depending on if a Cohen's present or not. And I think there's always got to be at least one Cohen present. And there's like a whole bunch. It's a very interesting history. And not only is that history something that has stayed as a tradition for thousands of years, but the DNA proves it. Because the Kohanic ancestry, the priestly thing, is something that goes from father to child. So it's not something, a lot of people think about halakhically, to be Jewish, your mother has to be Jewish. But to be a Kohan, your father has to be Jewish. And the Y-DNA would then be able to prove that, and it does. And so the study demonstrates how genetic genealogy can illuminate the impact of major historical events on specific paternal lineage. So they can see the Assyrian conquest of Northern Kingdom, Babylonian exile, Roman expulsions, Iberian expulsions. And they can see that in the DNA and how it affects that. And the way that they can see that is by looking at something like this, the phylogenetic tree, because what they look at is what is the commonality between the people that all descend from that. So they are from that specific group. So you can find that, you'll see certain ones, and we're going to see how large I can get this image. Let's do this. So over here we have that Mesopotamian ancestor, 5,000 years, or no, that's 7,000 years ago or so. Then we have the Israelite ancestor, Abba Cohen is what they call this ancestor. So then we see that there's a branch off here. And so there's Kohen Jews of India, and then Caucasus Jews, so the Jews that live in the Caucasus Mountains today. And so I don't know if these are archaeological DNA, but it might be. But we can see that branching, and then we have this branching where we find all these various branches that have connections. We've got Rhineland, Bohemia, Crimea, Italy, Hungary, Ukraine, Babylonian Judea. And so they're utilizing both archaeological data as well as modern day. So you can see that there's even more sub branches. But what they find is the commonality between all of these very distant branches is that all of them from both A and B are Jewish, have known Jewish ancestry. And so I guess it gives, I'm giving a very, very, very big overview of this. And I am not super well versed in this specific chart, but just generally this is how they're able to come to that conclusion that they're able to come to. And so here we can see Rhineland, Italy, Spain, Ottoman Turkey, and yeah. So interesting. So, all right, let's see. Do you know much about possible Jewish that were traveling with French Huguenots? I don't know. I honestly don't know a lot about Huguenot ancestry. I know there are a lot of areas where Huguenots and Jews either lived nearby each other or ended up living in the same areas that the other ones did. So like I know where a lot of my family ended up in East End of London were areas that were originally had a lot of Huguenots, and I'm pretty sure that it was the East End, but yeah, don't know much beyond that. Jose, apparently the Italian heritage, oh, I guess you were talking to someone else about something else. Okay, let's see. Comes through my maternal line, but if my middle sister tested with my heritage, would that equate to? Okay, yeah, I don't get that question. Yeah, I mean, that's if your middle sister tested with my heritage, like I don't know percent. Yeah, I'm sorry, not sure if that's coming from something else I missed. Julia, a lot of Huguenots and Jewish families arrived in Bristol around the same time my ancestors settled there. Cool. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna post this article in the chat so everyone can check it out as well. And yeah. All right. Any other questions that anyone has? I'm probably gonna get going here in a minute. Just realized I'm hitting about an hour. But yeah, definitely check this article out. Check out the other one I put up too. This one about the Erfurt Jews. So okay. Would that equate to great grandparent on my mom's side? Well, you're not going to know which side it's on. You've got to do much more research than that. But 26.6% would be the equivalent of a grandparent. So if that's the case, then you'd expect a grandparent who'd be fully Italian. It's also my heritage. So you don't know if that's the case for sure. And, you know, depending on what else you got, you might have to interpret it differently. You know, if you have a lot of Mediterranean heritage, that's one thing versus if, you know, everything else is African. You know, if you get all African and then only small percentage Italian, then yeah. All right. Yeah, I think with that, I'm gonna go ahead and call it for today. But I hope you all enjoyed. Sorry that I was a little out of it today. I actually, before this, I was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And then as soon as I started talking, I was just like, wow, my mind is not there right now. But thank you all for joining today. Hope you had a wonderful time. I'll be back to streaming on my regular schedule starting this coming Friday. Yeah, that's about it. Well, you all have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you later. Peace.